Hey, David Wood here, and welcome to My Extra Mile. I gotta tell you, you know, I often get goosebumps when I'm interviewing someone who's great. I believe that I had goosebumps through this entire conversation. This lady really, she's an intimacy expert, 6 books, 5 million followers, viewers on YouTube, but so congruent, so aligned. Like if you're looking to take your current relationship to another level, if you're single and you're looking to discover, a way to really attract the one by becoming the one, and really understanding that the inner work here really does transform the outer relationships, then you got to listen to this show. It won't be the last show I do with her, but it's certainly worth your time. Take it in. And there's also some practices that she's going to give you for a dyad with your partner or a dyad with yourself, a conversation with your partner once a week, some specific questions that will elevate your relationship, and questions you can ask yourself that will allow you to connect with your inner self and really sort of start to become the one so you can attract the one and keep the one. She's brilliant. We worked together many years ago, so to reconnect with her was just a blessing for me as well. I certainly took some notes, and she's remarkable. So enjoy the incredible Allana Pratt. Can you believe it? I mean, we just said, has it been 20 years?
I think it's been 20 years. It's
20
crazy.
years. All right. And so we met at a crossroads in both of our lives. You were just starting coaching. Now you have 5 million viewers on YouTube. Go, girl, go. I mean, that's crazy, right? And we were just saying, like, you're 50, I'm 60. Like we did all right. Look at us.
I think we look great. Well, isn't it true when you're following your purpose, your passion, this life force energy comes in and through you? And you were so graceful to say, like, oh, you still sparkle. But I thank you. I feel so grateful and so alive and so on purpose. So yeah, I think we age well.
Yeah, it's funny because, I said that a moment ago. And just for everyone, I think they all know now. They know me as like, we didn't spend hours prepping. This is just a conversation. That's why I call it conversations, right? But, I just said your sparkle is just there. And I remember the first time I met you, and now, it's got sparklier. Is that a word? Sparklier.
Well, it is now.
The word intimacy, when I read your kind of, your bio, and it was like intimacy expert. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of, people can be bold and say a lot of things in their marketing, but you have this thing. I mean, it exudes out of you. And obviously having a following like you do, what your message is so congruent. So first, describe, what is intimacy? I mean, what is it? If you had to describe it to the layperson who really, I think a lot of people don't understand what it is at all. But what do you think it is?
Yeah. So I toyed around with whether I was going to call myself an intimacy expert, because everybody initially thinks, bow chicka bow bow. Like, is this what we're going to just talk about? Sex? Yeah, right. Which it includes sex, obviously, but it's more the umbrella around it. It's, can we be intimate, vulnerable, transparent, raw, honest, real, first with ourselves? Yeah. So that we can rest into that place of home inside, which allows you to be one with all. And then from that place of home where you don't need approval, you don't need acceptance, you don't need your worth based on another's, opinion of you, you're good. And you're not just perfect. You've literally formed a relationship with your wobbly self and your magnificent self. And there's nothing to justify, nothing to prove, nothing to control. You're just like, hi. And when you bring that intimate relationship into the bedroom, or frankly, the boardroom, or to talk with your child, like all of these relationships on the outside become so rich, so real, so nourishing, but it always starts inside. So I say intimacy is an inside job. Into me, I see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah. It's interesting, the wobbly self part, because I got goosebumps when you said it, because I love collecting things that make sense. The wobbly is, I've never heard it described that way by anyone in all these years and all the, a million plus students I've had. And I love it because wobbly, it's like, wobbly isn't about not being perfect, because perfection is this crazy, just this crazy place. In fact, someone said something the other day, which I really love. They said perfectionism is another form of procrastination. And I thought, but isn't it true though, that wobbly part, when you talk about intimacy and falling in love with ourselves, it's really getting right with the wobbly, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So in our 20 years of not seeing each other, there has been a lot that's occurred, and there's been a lot of wobbles. There was a custody battle for about 12 years after a marriage, and all of my assets, my home, my money, everything, I lost everything. And I went into about $250,000 debt, legal debt. And I also gave in and let him live with his dad just to stop the fighting. So I didn't look good. I felt humiliated. I felt like such a loser. And I thought I looked like a bad mom, and all the lies in court won. The truth didn't. So I questioned, like, God, are you really there? Like, it was just like really a low place. And I ended up going away into a cabin in the middle of nowhere for a controlled nervous breakdown. I'm just going to do this. I'll be back in a couple months. Just let me lose my shit.
Just me and my Kleenex, I'm off.
Yeah. So I was on this deck, David, and there was like nature in all directions. And I just surrendered into Mother Gaia. I surrendered to the world. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And I met my wobbly self, who I was so ashamed of, so embarrassed by. And I just said, okay, well, if everybody opts out, I love and accept you. If our son chooses never to be in our life again, I love and accept you. If we need to move to Costa Rica and be a barista, I love and accept you. And there was this moment, like a direct experience of oneness with all, where I felt unconditionally loving of myself. I felt the universe unconditionally loved me. And I'm like, oh, this is what they talk about, oneness, right? And that is like the role of intimacy. Like, can we love our wobbly self? And here's the key, even if they never change. Because most of us will go in and do our inner child work. I'm like, okay, ashamed self, chop, chop, we got to be perfect, right? We have an agenda. But what if you actually went in there to your wobbly self and said, look, I unconditionally love you for eternity, even if you never change. Yeah. That's unconditional love.
Yeah. I just want to give some people listening right now, if you're listening and certain words you don't resonate with, like, universe, or you have other Gaia or any of these words, I want you to just smarten up a little bit and listen beyond that. Don't let the words get in the way, because this is so beautiful. And I just know language plays this, and your language is so rich. I love it, because I'm almost there with, I'm there with you.
Yeah.
But, you said something which it really strikes me about this authenticity piece, because that's really, I find my true power, where I live from is this, it's this congruency, but this transparency. It's that wobbly part is me. It's not like there's two parts. It's the because I own the shitty bits, and I don't. I like wobbly better because it's not shitty. But all of those, every lie I've ever told, every mistake I've ever made, everything that's gone wrong, or seemingly at the time, because you and I know this clearly. The things that we thought were going wrong, 5 years later, we look back and thank goodness that happened, right? Thank goodness there was a custody battle. I guarantee there's a part of you that says that today, right?
Oh,
thank
no.
goodness I went through it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was going to say, talk to me about this, that when you discover and live from this authentic place that is sort of perfectly aligned with the wobbly, and I'm going to use that the whole show, but isn't that the source of power? Isn't that where it really lies?
Oh, well, yes. Well, we all know what we resist persists, right? So we're literally giving away our life force energy, throwing it away in resistance to the wobbly part, thinking that we are like a Ferrari on 2 cylinders, able to operate on our top game. No, we're not going to be able to. But when you made that sign with it is integration. We can't create or destroy energy, but we can shift it. We can be alchemists. So when you integrate in this wobbly part and you have no resistance and you love them, then you can fully show up. You can be unapologetic. You can go for it. And also you can know what you know. Yeah. A lot of us, like, I'm a cum laude grad, Columbia University. I'm a smart chick, right? But just relying on my brain.
Beautiful and smart. You're pissing some people off now. Come on.
Don't worry. You know me.
But you're wobbly. Hold on. Beautiful, smart, and wobbly. There you go. Yeah, we got it all together.
So when we only rely on our brain and we get too connected to mindset, I just have to have a better mindset, 10 more affirmations, it's exhausting. Yeah. But there is, when you do this integration work, as we're talking about, and you make friends, make peace with the wobbly, you drop into heart coherence, which is totally scientifically proven, a very high vibration that allows us to be one with the field, the universe, God, but also allows the best of our body to operate. So the best of our prefrontal cortex, where we can be super abstract thinkers, and also deep, and I'm touching my belly down here, our intuition, our instincts, this pre-thought, where we know what we know, which allows us to feel safe. We normally want to trust. Can I trust you? I don't want to be hurt again by a love interest or by a business thing. And we only spin in our head to try to be safe. And can I trust you? But that's not where trust is found. Trust is on the inside. Yeah. Trust is on this, And when you do this inner work, you have this sense of peace in your skin, safety and security from the inside out, that even if everything goes to shit, you know what you know, and you've got what it takes to rebuild every time. And it gives you this sense of, like, when you walk in a room, you don't need anything to go a certain way, which allows you to be like really sexy and kind of irresistible.
Well, you talk about that sexiness, because that really is sexy. Because, I remember when I was younger, and you're younger than I am, but Raquel Welch was thought of as the most beautiful woman on the planet.
She's hot.
And her husband at the time was mostly, if you look to him physically, one of the most unattractive people, like Mick Jagger could be that. You look at him, he's not attractive, but there's that charisma and that swagger and that confidence and that passion, and he's sexy. I don't back for that team, but you know what I'm saying? Right? But there is something, like you talk about that sexiness. When you have that going on, it's almost like a magnetic field. It attracts to you.
Yes.
And it can be seen as sexual. I don't use it in that way. And I don't cross that line with my students, but I can feel that attraction from the opposite sex and from men. It's like, because I kiss all my men friends, but it's still that idea exactly what you talked about. I love the word integration, but the other thing you said, which I haven't heard before, which I love, what was it?
Yeah. Pre-thought.
What a great descriptor of that process. Just that trust. Yeah.
And I didn't think we were going to talk about all of this, like sexual energy and stuff, but I'm glad we are.
Let's do it.
Yeah, because sexual energy is sacred energy. It's sacred life force energy. Right. And a lot of us think, just like when we use the term intimacy, she must only talk about like genital copulation. No, there's more to intimacy than that. And same with sexual energy. There's more than just in the bedroom. Sexual energy is the very energy that like blossoms a flower or spins our planet, or this energy in, as, and through us. This is life force energy. This is the creative sexual energy that says, hey, let's do a podcast and connect with David again. It's also the tender energy, like we're both parents. There have been moments when our kids needed us just to shut the F up and listen. And our presence was healing and caring. That's sexual sacred energy as well. Yeah. And then also there's a boundary energy of like not anger, but fierce love. Yeah. Like a heart open, not okay, out of integrity. This ends now. It's a fierceness, but it's,
by the way, which is also so sexy, because I always talk about men. So many men have taken their balls and put them away in someone's purse, and it's not sexy.
No.
It's not sexy. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. No woman, I don't care if the guy thinks that's what she wants. There's no way that she wants you to, she's not trying to take him away from you. But if you allow that to happen, then you're going to see I feel, and I watch this with all my clients, as I see that erosion of passion, that erosion of connectivity, or polarity. The other word, polarity.
Yeah, it just gets neutered.
Yeah, and apathy. Isn't apathy the worst? You talk about any kind of relationship, almost the worst part of it is where you're just, you're resigned, apathetic, right?
Yeah, no, I'm so in agreement. So so this sexual energy, indeed, when you know what you stand for, and you don't wobble, but you also don't dominate or judge or reject somebody or yourself, but you keep your heart open. It's like, in its most extreme case, the difference between rape and ravishment. Rape is whether our heart is open or not, and whether this sacred sexual energy is flowing in what we're a stand for. And then of course, sexual energy is like chandeliers and wild, kinky, whatever you want to do.
Well, yeah, but hold on, let's go there, because I want to go there, because this is, I rarely have this. Well, I love this conversation, and I think if it happened more often and more openly, and especially happening between people of the opposite sex, because it's often, two women can talk about it, but for you and I to be able to talk about it, I see this a lot. Guys want that vixen in the bedroom, who'll, where everything goes. And I love this thing about no-nos in the bedroom, but it doesn't mean it doesn't mean yes to anything. It just means there's no-nos. In other words, that those doors are always there. It doesn't mean they even ever open, but there's no-nos. But I always say that the guys I work with is like, if you want that, I love the ravishment, but whether it's, the extreme of eroticism, I said, you still have to go through the intimacy door. If you're going through the intimacy door, all those things are on the table. But if you just have those things, then someone's broken anyway. If someone is just acting in the darkest places of the sexual energy, right? So I always think about that sexual range. But do you agree then, as a woman, that if you want it all, then the intimacy door has to be the door we go through, we travel through, and it has to be prevalent throughout, regardless how kinky or how great the other end could be or can be or will be, right?
Right. Well, as the feminine, we can't surrender unless we're absolutely safe. And we're not safe if we can't talk about everything. Right. If we can't be respected for our yes or our no, or put something on the table and say, so how do you feel about that? Tell me something you're afraid to tell me. This whole idea of dyads, I don't know how much of that you've done in your training over the years, but for all the couples I work with or the singles who are beginning to date, I said, are you having your dyad date night? Are you having that conversation where everything is sacred to talk about? And all you get to say is thank you. Tell me something you like about me, 5 minutes. Tell me something you think we align on, 5 minutes. And then a good 20 or 30-minute deep dive where it's like, tell me something you want me to understand about you and sex. Tell me something you want me to understand that you think I don't understand. Tell me something you're afraid to tell me. And then as you go back and forth, all you get to say is thank you. Complete safety of being heard and understood. Wow. And if you have that communicative foundation and you bring that into the bedroom, there is such safety to go anywhere. And so if she cries, it's fine. If she's kinky and wild, it's fine. If he cries, it's fine. Like all these different places, like your sexuality becomes your spiritual practice.
Yeah.
Life.
I'm just the people out there right now who love to write things down. Would you just go back and just repeat those 4 questions you just because I know I can hear them. Well, what did she just say? I gotta get that down. Yeah. But you got to remind them. Hey, listen, don't just walk up to your husband right now and say, "This is what we're doing."
Yeah. So just so you know, they're in a lot of my books as well. 2 of my books, these different.
There's 6 books, by the way, 6 books. The latest one, which I love, is like finding the one is BS, but becoming the one is bold and beautiful. Is that what it said?
Brilliant and beautiful, but bold and beautiful. There would be just same. Okay. Yeah. So the first question. So the idea of a dyad is once a week, put aside 45 minutes to an hour to just be in this sacred conversation with somebody where it's super safe and all you get to say is thank you. And the first question is, tell me something you like about me. We often say, yeah, I love you, and just in passing, but like to really go slow down and say, I love that you made me meatloaf, even though you don't like meatloaf. I like that about you. So that's the first question. Second question, tell me something you think we align on. This is really pouring energy into the goodwill bucket because you will be not agreeing on things from time to time. And if you already remember that you're on the same team, it's going to help you. That's the second question. Third question can always change. The first 2 stay the same to build affinity and an open heart. But the last question could be either, tell me something you want me to understand that you think I don't understand. Or it could be, tell me something you want me to understand about you and sex, you and money, you and the kids, you and our aging parents, you and oral sex, like it could be anything. And another one is, tell me something you're afraid to tell me. Where do we create a safe space to talk about the elephant in the living room? And if you don't, there's going to be a friggin' herd of elephants in there, in a short period of time. But if these are I call it deeper roots, higher shoots. So if you have these conversations on a regular basis, and you don't have to like stare into each other's eyes and make it too woo-woo if that's not your style. Go for a walk, go for a drive, but have these conversations and you'd be amazed at the depth of intimacy.
What I love about it is because you're talking about a weekly practice. I suppose just to give definition to someone who's listening, who's saying this is so beautiful and they want to begin this practice, would you take a week with one and then a week with the other? Or would you say 45 minutes with one and then, because that, a lot of people with time is, especially if they've got kids,
Oh yeah.
finding 90 minutes isn't always as practical. So would you say like, maybe this week is your week and next week, or how would you do
Oh no, you go back and forth the whole time. So everybody gets to win every time.
Okay, awesome.
So when you ask these questions, it's like back and forth.
That's the dyad, right?
Yeah. So let's practice, David. So we'll just give them an idea. So 45 minutes once a week is all you need. And just the third question changes once a week. So be like, so David, tell me something you like about me.
I love your sparkle. I love your clarity. I love your certainty. I love the idea that when you speak, there's such a deep congruency with the words you speak and the alignment of your values and the way you live your life. It just exudes out of your pores as I'm listening to you.
Thank you. So that is all I would say. And then you would ask me.
And so Allana, what is it you like about me?
I like that after 20 years, we just pick up right where we left off. I love that you are congruent with your message. I love the depth of your questions and the depth of your listening, because what I get to share is only as deep as the listener allows me to go.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's an example, just like that. And you go back.
Practice, what I think people get is that because the brain is always running to justify or quantify or whatever, that thank you is accepting the gift versus what I think a lot of people do when I'll give you another example of that. I think Harvey used to talk about this, which I loved, was when, someone says, do you want to come for dinner? And you simply say, no, thank you. I mean, the brain wants to make an excuse. It almost wants to make up a lie to say, actually, I'm kind of busy tomorrow versus no, thanks. It's just like, it just sounds weird. But so the idea of thank you, isn't that just about really receiving?
Yes. And you might not agree with what they just said. So thank you doesn't mean I agree. Thank you means I heard you and I understand you. Because a lot of times we think in relationships that we need to be right and control the other. We have to agree on everything. What if that's not true? What if actually what we deeply desire is to be understood? And even if we agree to disagree, if we can understand each other, then we can still have respect for one another, and we can allow. We don't always have to be in charge and be in control. We can just allow. I might not prefer this. I might not even like this, but I refuse to waste my energy in resistance. I refuse to judge my partner or myself. And I'm just going to burn and sit in the fire here and just be an allowance of exactly what is and exactly what isn't. It's very powerful.
Yeah. Actually, it's one of the most powerful practices with clarity I've heard in many, many years, to be honest about that. Relationships, people talk about having date night, but having a definition that allows understanding and that idea about being heard, that's why I think, you talk about charisma again, or you talk about that sexual energy, being an active listener. And I love that when I use the word, the descriptor of active listener is it's being willing to be, for my opinions to change by listening. It's not like I'm holding my opinion, but I think that's so attractive when someone can hear you, isn't it?
So it's so true. You're reminding me, I was on Jenny McCarthy's show a couple times, and what she was saying, well, how can I spice up my date night with my husband? All we end up doing is talking about the kids and talking about work all the time. And I said, well, when's the last time you asked him, tell me something you want to tell me that you're afraid to tell me? She goes, never. I go, yeah, try it. She goes, we had the most amazing date. I had no idea that there were these little, we're friggin' married, but there was these little areas of like fear of rejection or fear of not getting along or fear of having a fight that would just shut people down. And so you've got somebody at 80% married to somebody at 80% wondering why they don't feel like they're living their life fully, because neither one is fully showing up. But the gift of these relationships is we can give the other a completely safe space to be exactly who they are. Total allowance, full self-expression, and unconditional love, which means I love you without condition, which comes all the way back to the beginning of this conversation. If you can't do that for yourself, if you only 80% love yourself, love your sexual expression, love your values, whatever, that same inner resistance will be projected onto your partner, which wounds them, which creates consistent conflicts or sabotaging patterns in our relationship. So always do that inner work to find your shadows, heal them. Find your wobbly parts, love them, and then notice how you can give so much more spaciousness to your partner, which brings them closer to you. And it's,
Let's go into that part, because I think it's so important. I want to talk about your app, by the way, because, I love the idea that someone like you has created an app, and that's going to sound good because obviously it's still a business.
Yes.
But I think so many times people who build things build them because they have the technology and the money and they want the money. So it's kind of a different process
Yeah.
versus somebody like you who spent decades in the field building
Yeah.
something for many. It's an extension of your purpose
Yes.
versus, and
Totally.
listen, and as a business guy that loves people to profit from that, there's nothing wrong with it becoming incredibly profitable. But I love the roots of things. You know, if the root of this is about purpose, then you
Yeah.
have this alignment all the way through, because every decision, how the app is built, is going to be built from a different well. It's a well of deep understanding of connection, not, hey, listen, let's get you laid. I mean, can you imagine that? There's an app, and again, I've never been on this app, so again, I'm not saying that to be trying to say it's wrong or right, but what I understand is you swipe it if you don't like the look of them. I thought, how great is that for your self-esteem?
Horrible.
So, you know, it's like, anyway, so we'll get back to your app in a sec. Let's go back to this idea about finding the one is BS, being the one.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that journey. So, because there's so many people right now who've gone through heartbreak. And I love this with my 16-year-old. He had a girlfriend in New York. We live on the west coast of Canada. New York is pretty much one of the furthest places. And he's only 15. At 14, I think he started 15, maybe 15. And he had to find his way to New York on a number of occasions, find somewhere to stay and pay for it all of himself. That's the power of love. And
Wow.
when we broke up, I said, I'm so glad that your heart's broken so early, because you're going to get to see that it fixes, and that heartbreak is, but so many people, they get hurt and they seem to, the heart gets tarnished, and they seem to carry that wound to the next one. So they bring almost less with them to the next relationship, and and I see that sort of erosion of the heart over the heartbreaks. Can you talk to me a little bit about that, and then let's get into how do I be the one?
Yeah, this is so 16 years old, Canada, best friend died. I mean, my cat hadn't even died. Grandma's hadn't even died. And I remember in that moment, I chose to never know them and never feel this pain, or to know them, feel this pain, and learn how to open my heart again. So from a very young age, this was an invitation of how to live my life. And so fast forward, first marriage, damsel in distress, never did any inner work with dad, who was drunk and stoned as I grew up. So I was looking for a man has a plan, he'll save me, and his approval of me. So I was looking for that outside approval. I hadn't become the one. I was looking to find the one to complete me. That was my first marriage. Second marriage, mom was dying of cancer, and I didn't want to heal my heart. My heart was closed. So again, a man is a plan. Now a man and a baby is a plan. And I did that. That ended within a year. So the only one in common is me. And I'm still seeking approval from the outside in order to be okay on the inside. So I do the inner work, and I realize, oh my God, I've never become the one. I've never given myself the approval I've been seeking on the outside. I've never learned how to love myself, like the wobbly parts. And I was only into looking good. I was a model in Japan and the smart girl and all the rest of it, right? But at the end of the day, I was terrified that someone would take their love away from me and that I would be nothing. There was nothing left. So it was all this inner work that I've been doing to quote unquote become the one. Well, I prefer that people like me. I prefer that people work with me. At the end of the day, if they don't, the Costa Rica barista is not so bad. Like, I'll be okay. So that's the work about how we become the one. And what happens is when you go into a relationship from empty, looking to be completed, your insecurities meet another's insecurities, and it's a train wreck waiting to happen. 2 divorces, I can totally attest to this. It doesn't work. However, when we realize, hey, what if 2 wholes came together? We would complement one another. We wouldn't complete one another. And if we're whole, we don't need them to be in another way. We can be an allowance of who they are. And what if 2 wholes, what if the meeting of 2 wholes, that whole is greater than the sum of the parts? And what I found is that soulmates, and this is just jargon, so you can agree or disagree, and I'll love you anyways, but the idea of soulmates are more about my wound is attracted to your wound, and there's so much chemistry, and you complete me, and oh my God, and then, the
and I can't believe, of all the 7 billion people, you're in the next cubicle.
Right. So there's a desperateness, and then a relief. And that's the trigger. That's how you know, oh my God, highs and lows, right? This addictive behavior. That's more like a soulmate. Now, soulmates often will move into whole mates, or I call them heartmates. right? And that's the name of my app, Heartmates. And so the work that needs to be done is you don't complete me. It's my job to complete myself. It's my job to heal my wounds of the past. It's my job to make how the very worst into how it's turned into the very best. It's my job to see the gift in every tragedy and become my better self. So then over here, instead of, oh my God, facing each other, wholemates stand beside one another, because it's not just a relationship of wholeness for yourself. You give from the overflow to your partner, but there is a blending that I believe is for humanity. There's so much overflow that comes from two wholes coming together that you uplift consciousness. You create a business that uplifts humanity. You become those conscious leaders in your business, or conscious parenting, or what have you. And frankly, the world needs that right now. They need wholemate or heartmate couples. And so that's what I choose to be personally. That's what fueled me to develop this app, so that it is the first of its category. It's a dating app and an intimacy training all in one.
Which actually, when you think about it, because this is an area, much like money, it's kind of weird, right? That no one gets taught. Kids don't get taught about this at school, right? They just don't, right? And and what I found, from the whole school experience, I left school when I was 15, thank goodness. But it was just like, either you would definitely, and I saw it with my own kids, how they became part of a clique. And how once they hit high school, how their confidence kind of almost diminished or eroded, not with both of them equally, but certainly it was like suddenly you either were cool or you weren't cool, you were this or that, and it was just, and if you lacked any confidence, that was, is exasperated. So it so fascinates me. But, if we go back to the question I'm sure someone's got in their mind right now, is whole. And because I don't think you're saying, you have to be perfect. And I think people...
No, that's the opposite.
Exactly. And I just want to make sure that that person sitting there thinking, oh shit, I'm so far away from whole right now, I'll never make it. But actually, that's not what you're saying. You're not saying you have to be, there's any level of perfection there. So describe whole so that they get it. Because I can see half the people like, holy shit, I'm never going to make it, right?
Yeah. So in my curriculum that I teach with intimacy, a lot of what we do is to dissemble this whole perfectionism. There is no such thing as perfect. We're all perfectly imperfect. And a little science here allows us to see that in life, there's equal challenge and support in every moment. Like, for example, the moment my mom died, there was pain, but there was also relief that she was no longer in pain of cancer. The moment I looked at my son, there was bliss. Oh my God, a little miracle. And then there was like, holy shit, how do I keep him alive? Total fear. So there was everything in every moment. We suffer when we clamor for pleasure and resist pain. But when we're open to everything in life, the good, the bad, the challenge, the support, everything, we are totally present, totally at choice, very brave and very humble. So the same idea is with perfectionism. There is no, oh, I'm so perfect. No, there's always going to be an area to grow, to evolve, an area where you don't know. And there's going to be an area where you're masterful and badass and amazing. So wholeness is about being okay with it all. Here's where I'm living my purpose. I'm on purpose. I'm a genius. These are my talents and my gifts. And here's the area where I'm a hot mess. And I'm willing to admit I'm a hot mess, and I'm not willing to justify or defend. I'm willing to be humble and diligent and tenacious and do my work. So I have a full coaching practice, but I also have 3 coaches and an energy worker. So I need my team because I can't see my blind spots to save my life.
Yeah, this is interesting. You said is you have a full coaching practice, but you actually are being coached. You have 3 coaches and an energy. So there's a team of 4 are helping you coach. I love it. Which is that?
It's the whole, good. You're doing your, Yeah, it's credible and vulnerable all into one. It's wobbly and badass all into one. It's called being human. We are all dark and light. We are all good and evil, to be quite frank. That could be a whole other episode right there. And we're definitely
gonna do more. I mean, we got a hard stop coming up here because you have a coaching client coming in. But I just want to say is that we got time. I just want to make sure that I'm going to get you committed right now. We're going to have another conversation
Part
because
two.
I can see we're scratching a very, very shallow surface of a very, very, very deep ocean. But
We could probably friggin' lead a program together, David, but
let's
yeah.
do it. Let's do it.
Thank
Let's do
you.
it. I'm
Yeah.
in. Well, again, it's been a long time. It's that clarity, and everything you're saying is just the language that you've what was the word adopted, the language how you describe things is so clear, and an average person can really they can see it and hear it, but because again where you're coming from is not from the sage guru thing. You're coming from, hey, you know what, this is my level of genius over here. I'm a hot mess over here, genius over here, but your level of genius is something where you've dedicated your life to. Yes. And I think because of the journeys, the peaks and valleys of your own journey, it's given you such wisdom and experience because you've gone through a lot, and you've been able to navigate that into the person you are today. So again, going back to the becoming the one, can we give one if someone doesn't come and read your books, which go read her books, you get it, you understand what, if you don't understand already, this is someone worth following, then you may anyway, but give someone something. Where do they start? What's a good practice? I mean, I love the questions for a couple, but I'm sitting there alone right now. Maybe I'm completely alone. In other words, I don't have a partner. What's a good practice that you love someone to start with?
Yeah. One of my signature meditations is called the little you meditation. And this is when I said I went away to have my controlled nervous breakdown. That's who I found on the inside. So for a single person, notice if you can that you might be seeking approval from somebody on a dating app that gave you attention. Somebody texted you back. Somebody wants you, right? There's all this external. I'd like you just for a moment to just knock it off. Just let everybody be for a moment and turn the other way. Rewire yourself, have a look on the inside. And this is where the science that I've been trained in, the quantum psychology processes, when we do the deep inner integration work I do, it's not just talk therapy. It is the thoughts, but it's also the image, and it's also the emotions and the body sensations. All four elements need to be fully integrated so that the brain and the central nervous system literally transforms, not just improves, transforms, changes. And so when we look on the inside, we normally don't want to look beneath the chin. We don't want to feel beneath the chin. So if you're alone right now and you slow down and you start to go, hey, okay, Allana says there's a little guy or a little gal in my heart. Hi. And that little one will be like, yeah, you're mean. You criticize me all the time. I hate you. Or I miss you. I've been sad and you've been ignoring me all the time. Or like, you've abandoned me. You don't care about me. Like, get into dialogue with little me. And what do they need? Notice that you've been probably seeking it in Facebook, 3 a.m. Haagen-Dazs run, porn. Who knows what you're doing as an addictive behavior on the outside to fill and feed the hunger for connection with yourself on the inside. So you need to start connecting with that little one on the inside. And normally when we do inner child work, we go in and go, okay, you're sad. What do I need to do to make you happy? No, that's not going to work either. I call it sitting in the fire. So this is a meditation practice, a journaling practice, a be on your own for an hour in nature practice. Go inside and start this dialogue. And instead of trying to fix, it's the exact same dyad I give with couples on the outside. I want you to have this dyad with yourself on the inside. Little you's going to say, you call me fat. And you're like, I hear you. Thank you. What else? And you did blah, blah, blah. Got it. I'm sorry. What else? Thank you. And you come into rapport with yourself, and you don't fix, justify any of that. You just get this part of you. And soon that little disassociated part of you will start to trust you and come home into oneness on the inside. And that will give you this sense of confidence on a date that even if you get rejected, I got you, little guy. I got you, little girl. Even if they reject you, I will never reject you. Even if they don't have our back, I will always have your back. Even if they think we're a hot mess, I love that you're a hot mess. I think you're kind of cool. Like, whatever. You're going to develop this inner relationship of humility and dignity. And that is so sexy and so attractive when you get out there dating. But if you don't do this inner work, and you show up on a date, hitting little you with a 2x4, shoving them in the closet, pretending you're confident when you're not.
Putting the makeup on, covering it all up. Yeah.
It's repulsive. It's energetically repulsive to a conscious person who wants to be safe and intimate with you. It might be attractive to a narcissist who wants to use you, but certainly not to the depth of relationship we want. So the little you practice is in my books. The little you practice, even if you go to my website, you can.
You better say your website so they know where it is.
AllanaPratt.com. So there's lots of places where I take people through this deep little you meditation. I've had grown men worth over 100 million go through my courses, and they're still sobbing because they're like, oh my God, I haven't had a relationship with myself. I've been trying to conquer and take and make all this stuff happen. I've even been generous and making a difference, but I haven't ever taken the time to come home to me. So it's a very, very powerful exercise for both single people and people in a relationship. If we're not home, we're still scrambling on the outside for control. And note to self, you can't control life. Life is uncertain. Big memo.
It's so much of what I practice and teach. But I just want to say to that person right now, if this sounds a little woo-woo, just look at what your results are right now and then maybe rethink it. Because I guarantee if you're listening to this and you're still here with us, this is the work that you're being called to do, right? There's a divinity in this. But again, if you're struggling to say, or something that you're going to put to the back of your, whatever, that's for other people. And you know what's happening in your relationships and you know how you're feeling and you know what's going on the external, then, maybe rewind this again and listen to that practice, or go to allanapratt.com and just follow this work and really get in touch. Because I really love that. And I think there's a sense of peace that you're talking about, which a lot of people I witness in the world. Very, very few people I know are peaceful, inside. And that alignment. Yeah. I'm not talking about everything's going well. I'm just talking about in the chaos, in the normal life ebb and flow, there's this kind of centeredness and peacefulness and that's that confidence, that trust of self, where, whatever shit happens, you're going to navigate it because you're there, right? So thank you for that. I love it.
You're welcome. One thing I wanted to add to what you said, David, is that while it might sound woo-woo, and I know if we operated and opened up your heart, there wouldn't be a little you sitting there inside. I know that, okay? It's a symbolic way to get in there. But scientifically, I have been Heart Math Institute, very scientific institute. I've literally led guided meditations at their annual retreat down in Mexico because I embody this level of peace, as you said, in the face of anything. They have these monitors that you can put on your ear and on your phone, and you can measure your coherence. And this inner peace that David is speaking of is the result of this inner little you work that I talk about, this intimacy work. And what happens with the monitor, when you're in stress, the number is low. When you're in trying to control everybody and your outcomes, the number is low. When you can come into appreciation, not just for the good, but even for the difficulty, the number raises. And when you let go of all attachment and you're just present and you choose and you do your best, but you let go of all attachment, the number goes even higher. So this is actually scientifically proven to be the best way to vibrate and be in resonance with money, success, your ideal clients, your partner. It's science. And
it's great. I've interviewed the founder, and the book is great. I mean, so Heart Math it's undeniable because it's like you said, there's a scientific approach to what we're saying. So whether you need the science or you need the woo-woo, we got it all, folks.
Gotcha.
We got you. All right, listen, let's talk about this app only because, we don't have very long left on the show, but I do want to make sure that we do get back together. I'm going to keep saying it. And so whenever you're ready, we'll get back together because I do feel like there's so many things we can talk about. But tell us about the app. I think we got the origin, because it sounds like the origin has been your story. But what's not working in the app world right now, or in that whole dating world right now? What's the thing that's just not working?
Yeah. Well, dating apps, in my opinion, are designed to keep you single. They don't.
It's such a great. It's such no wait. It's such a great answer because it's like, yeah, that's right, right? Because they're in the business of making money from you being single, right?
Yeah. So they don't teach you conflict resolution. They don't teach you how to heal your heart. They don't teach you how to meaningfully connect when things get tough. It's just like if things got tough, don't worry. Here's 3 more. Pay me a little more. Here's 10 more. Wounded hearts who haven't done the work. It's just a repeating the cycle over and over, which eventually makes people give up on love. They get so afraid to be hurt again. It actually brings out the worst of them trying to be perfect, and they don't know how to open their heart. So I've had enough clients complain to me, even on quote unquote spiritual dating sites, mindful dating sites, that 3 months into it, we had that first conversation about sex or money or what have you, and I'm ghosted. I'm literally ghosted after 3 months of like pouring my heart out to someone. Where, Allana, are the people that sit in the fire and do the work? And I'm like, nowhere. And then eventually when COVID hit, I'm like, well, okay, it's time. Like the antithesis of what most people did, hold their money, contract. I spent $100,000 and off we go. And I have a beautiful app where everybody doing, the app is free when you're signed up to the intimacy training for a year. Nobody just gets to come in for a hookup and use people and leave. Everybody in the app is doing the work. So there's the intimacy training, there's the app, and the way the app is designed, it's not the person with, here's where I went to school and here's what I do for a living. It's a meaningful quote that enlivens your heart. Everything about it is heart-centered in this. But the third element that's really different as well is every Friday we meet for conscious connecting. And we do these dyads that I just shared. And people with women, with men, old, young, it's like, get rid of this, are you the one, desperateness, and just start to show up authentically and practice. Yeah. And the people are already meeting on the Friday conscious connection calls are like, they were kind of cool because there's no attachment. We're just being ourselves.
Well, I was going to say, the thing I've struggled with again, and maybe I've used the dating app once. But if it's once, I just don't remember it. But I know it was I did once. I know it was exhausting, just exhausting. But the other thing I didn't understand is at the very least, you'd think you'd end up with some really cool friends. If you weren't going to date, then you'd end up, it sounds to me like you've hit the chord that I always felt was missing, which is the very least, imagine you end up with a handful of really beautiful friends you're aligned with that happen to be maybe the opposite sex, but you really end up with something, because I think great friends can become great lovers. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but,
totally.
right? So I just love the idea that there's this element of connectivity that is not, it's not about getting laid, which seems to be, what is it, getting laid or getting married seems to be the thrust of most of the apps I've heard about, right?
Yeah. And to me, that's more fear-based and more desperate-based. And we don't bring out our best self. So yeah, we already have an incredible tribe of people that are growing together and having each other's backs. And in a whole long year program, you might meet somebody, but guess what? Those first conversations are going to be tough. You've got the training, you've got the community. You're going to get past where normally you fail, or you give up, or you run, or you hide, or you blame. You're going to get through that, and you're going to build a more conscious relationship over time. Because my idea is become the one to find the one to keep the one. Yeah. Right? So that instead of, I still think it's a great business model, because once people are in relationship, I'll now support them as couples to thrive. I'd much rather have that be my more conscious business model than the business model of keeping people desperate and single. And I know from working and doing this 20 years, Mary Beth and Stephen, they came in too kind of wounded from divorce. They did their work for a year. They did these dyads, just what I'm saying, that happens on the Fridays. And they put their walls down and opened their heart in a way that they never would have on a regular app. Frankly, they never would have at a personal growth workshop, because it would have been inappropriate to kind of come on to somebody at a personal growth workshop, right? Like, oh, you're slimy. So the combination of being able to say, hey, I like you. And they've been together for 2 years. So yeah, they found each other in this works. So this
I love, again, you as a guide, again, it oozes out of you in every sentence is just the congruency factor. And, it's just very, very refreshing. Something I want to ask you before we go, and again, is this idea, the whole sex thing. I want to get into that's again, I love the idea, but there's not enough conversations about, real, intimacy and the sexual kind of range. I love this idea of sexual range from, tantric to the erotic, but the idea that there really is this range. But most kids, my sons are both young men, 20 and 21, and I bought them books every Christmas on sensuality or sexuality or tantra or so, and we talk about it, but I just wonder, how often you kind of learn your sexual practice, when you're the first time, whether for me, it was very, very young, but whether you're 20, and it seems like a lot of guys go through their life with that small playbook. They got these, but the idea about the work that you're doing, it does spill over, because that self-trust, that self-love, that openness, all of those, the connection and communication that we talked about in the dyad work, bringing that into the bedroom, suddenly people become greater lovers and more beautiful lovers, and the whole range sort of opens up. But I just want, because I know so many people are driven by that whole sexual encounter. You know, one thing I do when I work with guys that separate, and I always ask them, I say, you know, why don't you just abstain from sex for a whole year? And it sounds crazy to guys, especially, but it's such a beautiful practice to not be driven by that sort of that primal urge. And, you know, some guys don't do it, but I do think, especially if you've been married for a long time, you know, how often do you see the guy jump into bed with someone half their wife's age, you know, just to fix that? Anyway, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but do you want to just sort of touch on that so that we can sort of open that conversation a little bit about the whole sex world?
Yes. So for me, the work that I do with intimacy allows people to be so whole on the inside that they're literally making love with life. They're literally penetrating life with who they are, and they're being splayed wide open by, what do you have for me today, life? So you're having the experience of sacred sexual energy just every day. And then you, like I, as a coach, I certainly don't have genital copulation with my clients, but I don't hold back loving them. I don't hold back penetrating them with my fierce love or my tender, sweet, caring, you know, patience of eternity, or my creative ideas, and I just let them flow. Like, so there's a lot of sacred sexual energy flowing in my curriculum it's called heartmates.app. In the curriculum, even every week, we have sacred taboo truths, and I have different pictures of different body parts. And I ask them, just hold your shoulders, you know, just hold your nose, just hold your cock. Like, I don't care. Every body part is like awesome, or your breasts or whatever. Like, there's no, when we lean into shame and we transform it into sacred, you're free, and you bring that into just the way you stand, and you just stand a little more open and a little more loose. So everything about me allows for the sacredness of sacred sexual energy to be
penetrating life. I think it's a great way for us to close this up.
Okay.
You know, I know you got a hard stop, so I want to respect that.
Oh, you're so awesome.
I just want to make sure that we connect, like, just for a couple of seconds before you go. Just everyone, any last thoughts, any last words? Obviously, to find the app, how do they find the app?
Yeah, so logistics first. So heartmates.app is where you go for the dating app and intimacy training. AllanaPratt.com is where you go for all the other goodies, my YouTube channel, my podcast, which you should be on too, Intimate Conversations.
Let's do it.
Yeah, lots of good things there. My books are there and on Amazon, etc. So
slow down so they can hear you. You're just doing this part fast. I want to make sure they get it. So
AllanaPratt.com.
There you go.
Which is where you can go and find the YouTube channel, Intimate Conversations podcast, 6 books, meditations, all about thriving intimacy. I've even got an intimacy blind spot assessment on my site as well. So that might be something that serves people. And heartmates.app is the app. So yeah, what I would say to close this out is, if this whole idea of intimacy you're ready to embrace, because you realize the more you can receive yourself, the more you can receive money, the more you can receive love, the more you can receive a bigger orgasm, the more you can receive difficult news and not close down and kill somebody off, go for the jugular, right? There's so many ways. If you can receive the moment, you're going to be a better parent, a better lover, a better businessman or woman. Okay, so intimacy is the root, core, fundamental building block of self-realization. So do this work, I implore you. And so one practice I would give people is first thing in the morning and last thing at night, just put a hand on the heart, a hand on the belly, and slow down and go, hey, sweet self, what have I not slowed down enough to hear you say? And your truth will speak up. That will speak up. Maybe the wobbly self will speak up, and you will become more congruent, more integrated, more of your superpower. The inside always creates the outside. So thank you for having me.
So everyone, My Extra Mile, it's about those like incremental, little tiny, little 1% improvements in all areas of our life. Those small daily practices that we can bring in that over time compound. So thank you, Allana, and we'll definitely see you on the other side.
Awesome.